Unfortunately, we do not have a quorum present, so we will be limited on what actions we can take, but we can hear reports. Typically, we do introductions, so starting in the back of the room, sir in the uniform.
I'm Sergeant Matt Riccobene, Beaufort County Sheriff's Office.
Oh, it's going back this way. Victoria Hoffman, Solid Waste and Recycling.
Sally McLeod, Solid Waste and Recycling.
And I'm Mark Feinberg, Vice Chair of Solid Waste and Recycling. And approve the minutes from the previous meeting of April 3rd. We've done introductions. Since there is no public here for public comment, we will move directly into solid waste reporting. And we do have the litter supervisor here. Would you like to make any reports?
Sure.
We know.
Good afternoon. I'm Jesus Rodriguez. I am the litter control and adopt the highway coordinator for Beaufort County. Just here to provide a brief on the stats of what we accumulated thus far up until yesterday. This year, we did conduct the zero tolerance. We did have the zero tolerance month during the month of April. We handed out tarps and also brochures at the 4 major convenience centers, being Bluffton, Shanklin, Hilton Head, and St. Helena. In addition to that, I'd like to provide the stats for Adopt the Highway up till, or for this year so far. Currently, we have 84 Adopt the Highway groups. In addition to that, we do have 13 that are independent that's report back to us with the stats. Cleaning events so far, 157. Volunteers that partaked in all the events that were reported, 1445. They collected over 36,705 pounds of waste off the side of the road. Moving on to Beaufort County litter crews. So far this year, the amount of waste collected is 164,278 plus other waste, so it comes out to 197,048 pounds so far this year collected off the side of the roads. That varies from just your basic litter debris to construction debris, illegal dumpings, furniture, so on and so forth. Moving on, the miles covered under that is 28,563 as of yesterday. 35% of those calls were in the south portion of the county. 65% were in the northern portion of the county. Complaints, moving on to complaints for this year. So far, I've issued out of my ticket book, should I say, a citation, 2 written warnings, 150 and 151. Total complaints in combination with Beaufort County Connect and other complaints made via email, in person, or phone calls. We've had a total of 75 that were resolved, open and closed. And currently, as far as the projects that are concerned with the litter crew, we're looking to eventually implement 2 additional crew members sometime in the fiscal year of 2026. And that's all I have right now. Any questions for me, sir?
The only thing I would say is it looks like, how many people are on your litter crew now?
Currently, we have 6.
So those...
Oh, excuse me, we have 5. Getting ready to onboard 1 probably within the next 2 weeks, so 5 at the moment.
So 5 of them collected over 164,000 pounds of litter.
Yes. Yeah.
And the 84 groups did about the same at 157,000 pounds.
Yeah.
So they're almost equaling each other.
Yeah, sort of helping out each other.
Well, it just tells the community that we're doubling the effort.
Yes,
In
correct.
other words, each one is contributing 50% to the litter collection within the county, which is a good thing.
Yeah, yes, sir.
So with the addition of extra people, your numbers may go up in
Yes,
comparison.
correct. With the amount of coverage that we're taking on with the county, in addition to Adopt a Highway and other members that get involved with the community as well. But yeah, adding additional members to increase the size of our commitment to the community, Beaufort County. Yeah.
Great stuff.
Thank you.
All right, so this is a newsletter that we sent out with the board packet. Just kind of summarizes where we are financially at the end of quarter three and a little bit beyond these figures. Kind of moved into the month of April a bit. Some of the things that we are really excited to bring about is that we're working with the IT department. They've already installed some security cameras, and they're working on installing security cameras at the remaining convenience centers. And these are live feed, and they're for safety and then also risk management purposes. Oh, we're closing out the fiscal year 25 budget, putting a cap on most of our projects and purchases, and then already planning for fiscal year 26. As we mentioned last meeting, our budget request went to County Council, and they have gone through one reading of the budget, and it was approved, so looking hopeful, but we have not yet gotten any information as to what occurred within our solid waste budget. So we'll know that after the whole budget is approved.
It's gonna be, when is the whole budget gonna be
It
approved?
has to go through 3 readings, and it's already gone through 1. So off the top of my head, I don't have the agenda. It was within the next, I don't have the calendar with me, but within the next month, I believe, before we recess for July, it's going to be approved. So within the next couple of weeks, it has 2 more readings to go through. Residential hauler decals for FY26 are available. Applications are available now. We're going to be issuing those next month, and we have seen a noticeable increase in the applications from local businesses and haulers in Beaufort. So that tells us that that particular service provider, people are coming to Beaufort and starting businesses. So it's good to see. We're completing our resurfacing projects at the Libico and Big Estate Centers. That's part of our FY25 project planning. And then we've got a compartmentalized roll-off container. That's going to be a pilot program to bring recycling to our more rural centers. So right now we only receive recycled materials at the 4 main centers. Years ago, we did have containers at all of the centers, and my predecessors decided that basically it was a waste of money, so they did away with those bins because they just never filled up, and it was costing money to sit there. So with these compartmentalized containers, the hope is that the materials will fill up quicker because it's one 40-yard container with different compartments for plastic, cans, paper, and the other materials. So we're going to be starting that pilot in FY26. Really excited. We've really made a lot of headway with our compost mascot with our vendor Moondog. We have recently started to collaborate with our Gullah Geechee leader, Queen Quet, in Beaufort County, and she has taken a look at our mascot. When we started this program, we really wanted it to embody this culture that we're really proud of in Beaufort, and just to make sure that we're being culturally sensitive and doing something that the community would like and enjoy, and also help promote. We asked her to look at our drafts. So we're still working on that with that vendor and Queen Quet. And then we also have purchase some compost storage sheds with our South Carolina state grant tax money or state grant money. One is already installed at the Shanklin Convenience Center. The food waste bins will go under there, and there'll be signage to display what's accepted, and then also get residents the information that they need to be able to participate in the program. And then I believe last time we mentioned that we were in the process of procuring the Investo compost unit. We have since procured that, and we have our kickoff meeting with that company in the next coming weeks, because not only was that a contract to purchase the unit, it was also a contract for them to install it and train us, and then also provide support for the next 2 years just in case something goes awry. Chloe is back from maternity leave. She's not here to give a report, but it's summarized in the pamphlet, as well as Valentina. She's not here today either. She was not able to come, but she has been working on outreach for both solid waste and stormwater. She did a really great job at the Earth Day event, along with Jesus. Combined, they planned a wonderful event. And as you already heard, we picked up over 9,000 pounds of litter in Beaufort County. And Jesus has already given his litter update, so we can go on and move to our data. Alrighty, numbers, we love them. So this is our year-to-date fiscal 3 data.
At this time, I'd like to welcome Mr. Bryant.
You missed introductions. What we're looking at here with this first column is our overall tons disposed of. So the left column is our convenience centers and the right is curbside. So we do like to see that curbside is receiving more. Our convenience centers, you'll see in our traffic patterns, many of them are quite busy. So we do like to see more waste being collected curbside as opposed to the centers, because of just the hauling costs each time we have to transport that waste. And then moving down, this is just our tonnage by solid waste districts. So that's convenience center and curbside services combined. Any questions about any of those figures?
A question about how you want more curbside pickup than convenience center, although the recycling efforts in the convenience centers we get a reimbursement for in some cases.
We're not discussing recycling here. This is just MSW. So the different categories that we have here is our MSW waste, which is basic trash, construction and demolition debris, and then yard waste. So recycling figures will be in the next couple of slides. So for waste, yes, we'd like for people to have curbside services so our centers don't get inundated with a lot of traffic backup.
So they don't get inundated?
Yeah, so Hilton Head, for one, is really backed up and traffic goes out into the road sometimes. And that's specifically the one that we're looking at. The more rural areas, we don't have that issue. But with Hilton Head and Bluffton, with the residential dwellings that we have in those areas and the population, it would be better for those municipalities to have that curbside service so as to not put a strain on the convenience centers, because we just can't fit every resident in Hilton Head and visitor at a center.
Well, you know it's coming.
It is, and that's why we're
No,
working
I
with the
thought-
municipalities.
It was my understanding, and again, I'm new, forgive me, but I thought there was a proposal, a pilot to make Hilton Head 100% curbside pickup. Is that not
There was.
true?
I can't speak on the town of Hilton Head, and I don't believe anybody's here representing that district today. But from what my understanding, they did have a contract to do that, and the contract was not written to provide backdoor service, so it didn't really work well because of all the rental units on the island.
Help me with backdoor service.
Backdoor service is when the provider coming along to pick up your curbside bins, go and collect the bin from either like the side yard or the backyard, take it to the curb, dump it, and bring it back.
I guess my next question is, if we're gonna have something, and all of a sudden they say, oh, we ain't doing this again, what good is it?
That's the issue that Hilton Head
Okay.
is facing right now. We've tried to work with them, and because of the sour taste in their mouth from their last contract, they're a bit apprehensive. But City of Beaufort does it.
Was that because Hilton Head contracted with, I don't want to say the wrong, but with a contractor? I mean, I know that Coastal does side yard pickup where
I'm
I
not
live.
sure. I wasn't involved in that contract.
Okay.
I've never worked for the town of Hilton Head, and I wasn't in Beaufort County when that took place,
Okay,
so I
just-
really can't speak on it, unfortunately. But maybe if you contact a Hilton Head constituent, they can assist you.
No, it's just, I think that if the county says that our convenience center is overflowing or at its
No, I didn't say that.
or
That was
at
not my comment.
Are we at capacity?
We're perfectly fine. My comment was because of the traffic that we receive, which we will, if you flip to the next slide, you can see how much traffic we receive at each of the centers. And Hilton Head especially is one of the highest. Year to date, 230,000 in quarter three of 24, 215,000 people, or not really just different people, but people coming into the centers. So as you can see, Hilton Head, most populated area, and then go down to Shanklin, almost a half. So it would be helpful if more residents opted for curbside MSW pickup as opposed to leaning heavily on the centers.
Understand what you're saying? For the amount of stuff that's going on from this end, the northern end, I don't see how Hilton Head, because there's just as many people living up here on the northern end than
There is not.
you don't think so?
No, not at all. The population is heavily dense in Bluffton and Hilton Head. Per capita in Hilton Head and in Bluffton, that's the majority of Beaufort County's population. Everyone's spread out in the more rural areas. Any more questions about convenience centers and MSW? We'll move on to recycling. Or no, this isn't recycling yet. This is more data pertaining to centers. So this is our hauling costs and disposal costs, the number of pulls, which is every time we have to take a bin away, and then our residential tonnage. And then down at the bottom, you can see that it's compared to FY24 in quarter three and FY25 in quarter three. And as you can see, we're steadily increasing each year as the population does continue to grow. And we have recently been approved to move back to the general fund. We were once considered an enterprise fund without really a fee. So technically we really weren't an enterprise fund, so nothing really is changing with that, just the verbiage.
County council will determine your budget.
They have already been. That's why we were never really an enterprise fund. They allotted us money, so we requested money just like every other department, and they
There's only
allotted
one.
us. Yep.
And that's stormwater.
Yep, exactly. That's why we changed it. But as you can see, the tonnage continues to increase. That's why the disposal costs and hauling costs are increased. So the more waste people are getting rid of, the more we have to pay for it. Pretty self-explanatory. All right, on to recycling. So our first chart is displaying a side-by-side comparison for convenience center tonnage and residential route tonnage. So as you can see, in District 1, City of Beaufort, it's all residential route tonnage because City of Beaufort, they have curbside services. And then same with Port Royal. And then going into District 3, you can see that convenience center tonnage for recycling is a lot more than our residential route tonnage, and that is an indication that more residents are relying on that convenience center as opposed to residential curbside service. And unfortunately, we do have 0 tons for District 5, Sheldon Township, and we are working on outreach efforts to target those communities, as well as District 8. That's a bit lower than we'd like to see, and we're also working for outreach activities there. And then Defusky, it does say that there's 0 tonnage. However, Defusky is recycling cardboard, and they report directly to South Carolina Department of Environmental Services annually. So they do get totaled into Beaufort County's total recycling tonnage. And then you can just see the trend on the bottom. Summer months, spring months, heavier recycling days as opposed to in the winter. And then do want to note that in FY24 we had a different recycling vendor, and the way that their fees were calculated, we were only displaying their processing fees. And this year it does look like we're higher, but this isn't only our processing fees for recycling, this is also our hauling fee. So when you combine our previous vendor's hauling fee plus processing, is actually more than what we're paying now. And also on this fee, and you'll see in the next slide, our rebate is not calculated into our recycling cost. So this last slide is our rebates. So on the left side, we have the different vendors that we do receive our rebates from. And Beaufort Metal and Hardyville Metal, it is one company. However, the Beaufort Metal, they have 2 locations. So Beaufort, that's receiving the Shanklin and St. Helena bulky metal. Hardyville is receiving our south side of the Broad, so Hilton Head and Bluffton. And we were receiving a quarterly pool, so we did away with stockpiling a massive metal yard at Shanklin and cleaned that yard up, and now we're receiving this monthly revenue or reimbursement really from them. And then Universal Environmental, they give us a reimbursement off our used oil. Sunoco, previously we compacted cardboard. We no longer do that in-house. We send it all to I2. So this is coming from our books that we receive from the libraries, and we send to them to recycle, and then also office paper that we collect from Beaufort County facilities. And then the DOR Tire Fund, that's Department of Revenue. When you buy tires in the state of South Carolina, a portion of that fee goes to the state, and then they allot that out to the counties. And then the right side of the chart, it shows you at the top, you can see Waste Management was our previous vendor, and this is their process and hauling. So in the month of July, because that's when our last month with them was $100,000 to do business with them. The net recycling costs. And then as you can see with I2, we have it designated out between monthly processing cost, our hauling costs, and then rebate. So in the month of August, it costs us $76,000 to recycle, and that's incorporating that rebate amount. So after the check that we received from them, as you can see, we still come out in the red to recycle, but it's the right thing to do, so we will continue it. And then at the bottom, you can see our total cost with all revenues combined to recycle. So
We're
helps
saying
a little
that
bit.
To date, we've spent 368,000 and change to recycle. Is that
Yes.
bottom line there?
Yep.
Can I just ask,
If you incorporate all of our reimbursements,
versus cost?
the
minus-
net cost from I2 is 620,000.
So I just want to, for my own edification, is it, in your view, is it better for our constituents in the county to have curbside pickup for household trash and recycle at our recycling centers, cardboard, glass, metal, and plastic? Or would it be more beneficial, and there's financial versus ecological situations that come into play, but if we were to say that everybody had curbside pickup with no recycling, since it's not mandatory, then our costs would be negligible in the county? Would that be
No, it cost us $4 million to take material to the landfill last year.
no?
Yes, it cost us $4 million to
Cost-
dispose of MSW at the landfill last year.
From our centers?
No. Beaufort County pays anytime Beaufort County pays for waste to leave the centers and go to the landfill. Beaufort County also pays for any residential curbside hauler to take waste, not recyclables, waste, trash, to the landfill. So between the convenience centers and the residential curbside trash, all going to Hickory Hill and Oakwood landfill, it costs $4 million to dispose of that waste in fiscal year 24. And it's looking like it's going to be higher this year.
Because
So no,
there's more
it's-
trash?
maybe I don't understand your question. Are you saying we shouldn't recycle?
No, well.
What exactly is your question? Could you just
Well,
summarize it?
Yes, my question is it better for us, number one, to have curbside pickup? First question.
Well, you would have, that's an opinion. So you would have to look at, what do you mean by better?
Better meaning less cost. Would the cost be the same?
Probably not if you're living in it's just it's an opinion, and you have to look at it from various perspectives. So if you live out in Sheldon and you don't have to pay taxes to any municipality, but then the county comes and says, well, guess what? Now you're going to have curbside and you have to pay us extra money. So if you're living in Sheldon, you're going to be like, that doesn't seem fair. That's why I don't live in a municipality and I'm out here in the country. So it's just a different perspective. What I believe would be the most beneficial change for Beaufort County is for the county to oversee not just the contract for waste disposal at the landfill, but also for recycling disposal. So I would like to pay for everybody who has curbside recycling to go to one materials recovery facility. That would alleviate the issue of having different narratives over what is accepted in the bin. And that would also take away the, there's no really nice way to put it. It would hopefully prevent haulers from disposing of recyclables incorrectly because there's no initiative to recycle. If I'm a hauler, it's more beneficial for me to take it to the landfill because the county's going to pay for that. But if I pay the haulers to also take the materials to a recycling facility, then there's that initiative because we hear the complaints. We've contacted the state, and other than putting somebody at the landfill every day and like inspecting loads and asking where they're coming from, like how really can we mandate that? and it's to incentivize recycling. And by doing the contract to oversee the recycling in all of Beaufort County, I think it would alleviate several issues, but it would definitely cost more. Yeah, of course, it's
Again, you
any-
have
any-
a financial
anything-
versus an environmental
yeah,
issue.
exactly what's more important. So to recap everything, obviously, we're getting more and more people coming to Beaufort County, and it's costing us more money to dispose of waste and to recycle. As you can see, we're not in the green for recycling. It's in the red. It's costing us, even though we're receiving these rebates. It just costs money to do anything. It costs money to recycle. It costs money to dispose of waste. So we do want to increase more diversion so we can decrease, because like I said, it cost us $4 million last year to dispose of waste in the landfill, Beaufort County wide. And that's the whole county. If you live in a municipality, if you're a resident in Beaufort County, we paid for that to go to the landfill. And now it's just sitting in a pile of waste forever. And it cost us $4 million. So with that being said, gosh, that sounds kind of depressing, right? Anyway, so
facts
we
are the
are,
facts.
yeah, I mean, it is what it is. I would like to say I do have a background in conservation before I got into the solid waste business. Anyway, so we do have goals going into FY26. We're really excited to just get this compost pilot program started. We're making waves. Like I said, we have our in vessel unit that should be here within. I really can't remember the weeks now. I can't remember if it's months or weeks. 4 to 6, 6 to 8, something like that. I want to say 6 to 8 weeks is their turnaround time to get our in vessel. And like I said, we're working on our character. It's going to be a robust education and outreach program, public scoping meetings. We really want to involve the community. We also are looking into working with Defusky to increase recycling on the island. Like I mentioned, they have a cardboard auger compactor. And we'd like to see what else we can do out there. As far as recycling, it's just very difficult because you have to barge it off the island, and that is costly. And as you can see, just driving it to the recycling facility is also costly. So we're going to do what we can out there. We also want to continue to improve our operations at the centers. We have replaced many of our compactor units, which helps us decrease our hauling cost. So we'll be installing the new ones at the Shanklin Center within the coming weeks, and then St. Helena will be our last one that we're receiving, and that's going to be in FY26 as long as our budget has been approved. And then, of course, like we were just talking about, we want to divert more waste. And we do have that compartmentalized container that we're going to pilot to start accepting recycling at the Coffin Point Center.
Where you gonna divert it to?
I'm sorry?
You said divert more waste?
Yeah,
Where
so
you gonna
with
divert it to?
waste diversion, that's why we're trying to tackle food waste. 30% of the waste, or 30% of the waste that Americans dispose of is food waste, and that can be composted. So that is one waste diversion technique. And then recycling is also a waste diversion technique. So diversion just means don't send it to the landfill. Find something else for that. So stimulate the economy.
Your last meeting, you mentioned that you were planning on, at least at the 4 major centers, using an automatic arm scanner of decals to free up the individuals to help keep the the recyclable waste streams better by repurposing the individuals that are now scanning decals.
Yeah, that's a proposed plan for FY26. So that was one of our capital improvement projects that we requested. And that was to pilot a program at the Shanklin Center to see how it worked. So once we receive our FY26 funds and receive our approved projects, we'll move forward with whatever was approved. But the idea is to house more people at that recycling area to be able to educate residents, because our vendor I2 He had volunteers go to the convenience centers in Bluffton and Hilton Head and assist residents and just educate them on what can and can't be placed into the bins. And it was impactful. Residents really enjoyed that experience
People that I
and
know
learned a lot.
that use the Bluffton Convenience Center agree with that. They would like to see somebody there to
Yeah.
assist.
Absolutely, and employing people at the centers is one of the most difficult challenges that we do have in public works. But it is getting better. A year or so ago, we had several vacancies, and now that number has decreased significantly. But we do have vacancies at our centers. Unfortunately, we do have turnover. Sometimes it just depends what the situation is, but a lot of our center attendants are retirees and
Age out.
exactly. Yeah, they're just tired of working. So, yeah, but it's definitely a difficult location to staff. You know, you're outside in the elements. Believe it or not, like some residents are kind of mean, and sometimes it's difficult. Can you believe it? People are rude sometimes, but so it's difficult. You know, it's difficult to have that face-to-face interaction with the public, especially when you're hot and you know, kind of around garbage all day. So it is something that we're proposing. We'd like to increase the number of center attendants that we do have to have full-time staff at this recycling locations. All right, any questions?
Since we've covered some of the old business, is there any new business that we need to discuss? Anything from our liaison from council?
I guess this may actually fall under new business. Another week call. With the solicitor's office. Trying to pick up through Public Works. I don't know.
Want to do it, you know, during the week. During the week. They want to do it during the week. We want to do it during the week,
We want to do it during the week, but they want to do it on.
but they want to do it on the weekend, which requires us to
Is that
have,
a PTI?
no, this wasn't PTI, this was,
Can you explain that acronym?
PTI is pre-trial intervention.
Okay.
And it's a diversionary program for first offenders. And we've talked about it, maybe get them on the road as part of their volunteer hours in order to get their record expunged and complete the program.
Gotcha.
If they could be part of a litter pickup, I think that'd be wonderful. There were some logistic issues that we're trying to work out, and you know, let me know if I can help with that.
and we're still having discussions.
Yeah.
We're kind of waiting for them to kind of come back, but we can definitely facilitate during the week. We can do a litter crew. It's just, you know, it's hard for us to.
Yeah,
I got you. Yeah.
It's interesting because when I was on the board of Bluffton Self-Help, we had PTI individuals, and it was during the week.
I think that's all I have right
Thank you. Sir, do you have any public comment?
I do not, just attending on behalf.
Well, thank you for attending. Do you have anything for the good of the cause?
I don't have anything to add. Deliberating discussion there.
Fortunately, or fortunately, sir, do you have anything to add?
Every time I look at this sheet, I become, well, lost in la la land. Cause
I feel when I look at it too.
I mean, I see the numbers and up until you start, I guess, explain. Because, like, some of these numbers, fine when you understand it. But when you're over there going, okay, I got it here, start throwing a bunch of other numbers in there that you don't understand, you go, oh,
It's definitely a lot of data that we track, because it's a lot that goes on with these contracts and what we do with the waste and recycling in the county. If you'd like, we can summarize it. If you want to give us some ideas of what would better serve the board and how you would like to see the data, I'd be more than happy to shorten it for you.
I don't know if that's gonna help me with the problem or anybody else that comes in off the street and you start talking about this data and that data, you know. And the reason I said I don't know if it's gonna help me is because for 20 years I can do it, you know, say, jobs that I could use on the outside, you know, technical jobs, how to string the wires and get it passed and down the line. I'm fine. And I start throwing that at you and you go, what? What is this guy talking about? And that's, I guess, well, you do it every day, but for me, it doesn't make any sense.
I think what she was saying is we can definitely, if you'd like for her to summarize it in one big summary, we can show you what it costs us, you know, per year. I mean, that's, I don't know how more simple she can break it down. We can show you per center, you know, the tonnage and what it costs per center. And correct me if I'm wrong, Victoria, she knows exactly how much waste and recycling comes out of every center.
Okay.
So I don't know, do you want an overall summary of each center?
Well, if you can summarize it
Or do
and
you want us-
tell me what I'm looking at, because I don't understand it.
We'll look at it and see if we can summarize a little better and kind of, you know, I don't, wrong way, we'll kind of, and I have to too, I do as well too. I like for you to give it to me and I like it dumbed down for me. Give me the overall picture and let me see what the end result is.
Right.
And I like that as well too, but what we're trying to do is give the board as much information as possible so you understand exactly how much waste and recycling is coming from each different part of the county.
Believe it or not, this is summarized.
It is, that's what I
The
said, this is
spreadsheet that this
summarized
comes
for the most
from is,
part. So,
the spreadsheet that it comes
but-
from is,
And I want to give, Ms. Hoffman does a absolute very good job of collecting all this data. It's a whole lot of data. It was more than I even thought so when I started into it. So yes, we can definitely try to summarize it a little more for you if you'd like.
But you see what I'm talking about, you understand it.
There was a time when I looked at it for the first
Throwing it
time.
out there, well, you want 240 on this line, but you got to get XYZ to ground it out, and you don't have a ground, you in a bunch of trouble. Because you go in there, and you got a short, you're gonna fry somebody else.
We'll look into trying to get it summarized for you a little bit.
Okay.
Thank you.
Without further ado, if there are no other comments, this meeting is adjourned. Think? You think?
you're like, what?
She
Time to drink 2:43.